Hello everyone, great to have you here on the channel of MeteoMark Weather. Welcome to this edition. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to see the clash of the seasonal air masses come together. Even though parameters are not lining up for snow and cold, it looks like we could be going through a period of extreme winter storm action. And just how much tropical moisture could we be looking at across the Western Atlantic, Caribbean, and into Central America? We'll take a look at all that and more. Let's get into it. All right, so let's take a look at our future radar here. Not much happening the next 12 hours or so, but as we stretch on into the day on Wednesday, this is where things start to congeal across the southern plains, mid-Mississippi River Valley. You start to see all this rainfall start to come together. The northern fringes, you'll be getting some freezing rain and sleet. Now watch what happens. We got a cold high up here over Lake Ontario. And as we stretch out in time, look what starts to happen here. This moisture moves north and east, and we start to get that overrunning, that cold air undercutting this warm air at the surface. As the warm air streams in from the southwest, the cold air is undercutting it from the northeast. And that is where you're going to get the problems initially, especially at 1 a.m. on March 6th here. So as we stretch on into early Thursday morning, we could get a burst of heavier snow around central New Jersey as well, New York City, but look at the ice really starting to take over northern Ohio, much of central and southern Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh, it wins out with plain rain as the 32-degree line shifts to the north and east. And as you can see, look at that burst of snowfall around Scranton, Binghamton up to Syracuse. It's going to quickly change over to sleet pellets and freezing rain. Look at New York City, though. We got to watch out for the southern Hudson Valley, Poconos, Catskills, downstate New York here, even Long Island. Maybe a prolonged period of a burst of snow here being picked up on our future radar. Now look at this through 9 a.m. The ice takes over. So the freezing rain up to 1/10 of an inch in some areas. Some of these areas in southwest Pennsylvania, though, into West Virginia could see much more towards a 1/2 inch of ice, which down trees and power lines in many areas. But look at northern New England. The snowfall is falling, and then the ice here into parts of the Susquehanna River Valley up to the Mohawk River Valley and parts of the Poconos and the Catskills. All right, so picking up with our future radar, that storm in the northeast will be history as we stretch on into the weekend. We're going to be looking at another storm system trying to get its act together here across parts of the Mississippi and Ohio River Valleys. We're going to see that overrunning precipitation streaming to the northeast as we stretch on into March 8th here into the weekend. More snow, mostly that rain snow line in northern Ohio here with maybe some ice. That's going to stretch snowfall here into upstate New York, northern New Jersey again. So it looks like very much a carbon copy system as we see on Wednesday night and Thursday. This pulls up towards the northeast with more snow. And watch this. It clears out behind it, but our next system is already trying to organize come February 10th. You see that moisture streaming to the northeast here. We could be looking at some snowfall action across parts of Virginia, West Virginia, into the central Appalachians, Delmarva area. Watch out. Several areas of low pressure riding up along this area could actually bring some wintry precipitation in this region. So this middle part of next week could start to get very interesting here across the mid-Atlantic. Could this be your storm to get significant accumulations? And there's some indications that we could see some areas getting up to 2 feet. I'm going to bring out those snowfall amounts momentarily here, but this could be a very prolonged period of very heavy snow around the nation's capital, northern Virginia, West Virginia, southern New Jersey, and southern Pennsylvania. Look at the periphery of this on the 11th. It starts to expand to the north and the east, eventually getting southeast and central New England in on the act before moving out to sea. And longer term, we're looking at a very active weather pattern. Initially, it gets quiet right around the 14th and the 15th, and we see a surge of very warm air with this system. And then look at this. We do start to bring in some colder air behind it. Could this be northern Ohio's opportunity to get some snow around the 15th into the 16th? Quite possibly. And one thing to note, too, on the southern end of these systems, if I just back this up, there's going to be some squall lines. Squall line action going on here, so that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. This next system right around the 18th as well, this could bring some squall line action to the north. Now look at this. This system may try to go coastal right around the 19th. So watch out interior parts of Northeast and New England here. This could be a coastal low trying to form as we stretch on into the 20th. All right, so let's take a look at our European run here. You can see what's going on, picking up with our future radar. There's that system moving through parts of the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. Snow to sleet, freezing rain, and eventually rain. That pushes to the northeast. Some of you had questions about how far north the convection would be. It looks like southern Ohio, parts of Kentucky, maybe western West Virginia, but it looks like it keeps most of central and northern Ohio out of the act of this. So as we stretch on into your weekend, this is where we're going to start to see our weekend system. It ejects from the plain states and to the northeast, and there's that overrunning precipitation on the northern side here. You get northern Ohio, initially a shot of snow, sleet, and freezing rain, quickly changing to rain. One thing to note, this system's a little bit further to the north. It could get a squall line going into parts of southern Ohio here, down through Kentucky and western Tennessee. So that's something to keep a very close watch on. And as we stretch on into Sunday morning, look at that ice across northern Pennsylvania, upstate New York, heavy snow here into New England. And look at what happens as this low moves to the east. It actually strengthens, so these winds are going to be howling around this system as well. It's much an interior low pressure as it moves off the coast and becomes coastal here into the Gulf of Maine. That moves out for next week. We do start to see evidence that this next system will have some tremendous severe weather here across the southern plains and the southern Mississippi River Valley. And heavy snow on the northern side of this system could bring the mid-Atlantic, parts of the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast with some significant snowfall accumulations here. As we stretch through Wednesday the 12th, this system starts to go coastal on us, and it's just to the north and the west of this low where we could see some very heavy snowfall rates going on. Now, the European if we go back here, European kind of pushes it off the coast as more of an open low, whereas the GFS is stronger and further to the north. We'll see which one wins out in time. But another severe weather outbreak right around February 13th here across parts of the south. You do start to see two pieces of energy trying to come together here. Let's see if they come together here on the European model. So as we continue through the Thursday the 13th, here it is. Low here into parts of the Ohio Valley, and another coastal low trying to take over as it does go coastal just east of New England. And then our next system starting to organize. Look at these severe weather outbreaks. You can see the convection forming here as we stretch through February 14th. And let's just continue in time here. This is a fast mover, so I don't see this really blasting in back towards the coastline here. It does try to go coastal on us by the 15th, but here we go. Here's our next system. You got to watch these systems that dive from Colorado down into Texas like this. Look at this. Squall line across the Gulf. This could be the start of something here. We have plenty of time to watch it, though. This is more than 250 hours out. But, this run doesn't really have anything major until we get to about the 18th and 19th. It does try to ride up the coast. Previous model runs were a bit more impressive on this. And let's look at our snowfall amounts here on our GFS model. This is our system in the Northeast as we get on into Wednesday night and Thursday, mostly New York State, eastern Pennsylvania up through New England. And, several inches, if we just back that up, minus that lake enhancement behind it, you're looking at anywhere from 1 to 4 inches on average there. And look at the weekend system. Once again, we're piling up snow in northern New York, central and northern New England here as well, so watch out. We could see some hefty accumulations. And then that storm come the middle of next week, right around the 12th and 13th. Yeah, look at the bullseye. This is up towards 2.5 feet in northern Virginia. We'll have to see if this verifies. Look at South Jersey as well, 10 to 15 inches. So we'll have to keep an eye on it here. Things are trending snowier. And here we go with our European run. There it is, anywhere from about 1 to 4 inches on average with our weekend system. Lake effect and lake enhance kicks in behind it there. There is our weekend system, piling more snow a little bit further south towards Binghamton, New York, and the northern Catskills here, and parts of the central Hudson Valley. So we'll have to watch, see how far the south this gets. Look at the upper Midwest as well, getting some heavy snow. Northern Michigan kind of staying away from Ohio, though, for the most part. And look at over here in the Pacific Northwest, Northern California, getting some beneficial snowpack. Now, there's that mid-Atlantic system next week. It actually has it clipping parts of Ohio, all of Pennsylvania, and then into mostly Northern Virginia again, right around the nation's capital, Baltimore, and South Jersey, once again, 10 to 15. So this could be the storm for you here in the mid-Atlantic. And as we just continue through time, wow, look at the snowfall. This takes us out to February 19th. The snowfall could eclipse 30 inches total over a 2-week period. So here's our zoomed in part. I know this is what a lot of you look forward to. Here it is. So we get into the Wednesday night, Thursday system. Here it is. Anywhere, this area is going to be more, ice. So, a lot of ice in this area, especially in the southern end of this. And then more snow up here in New Hampshire and Vermont, where you get upwards of 2 to 5 inches locally, higher to 6 inches. And then watch this. As we stretch into the weekend, this is adding on top, obviously. But we have another snow, sleet, and freezing rain event as this warm air pushes to the north. Look at Ohio for the most part, remaining mostly snow-free. But look at this. Parts of upstate New York, even the Catskills, northern and central parts of the Hudson Valley, over to New England. We're going to start making up for some lost time here on snowfall. And then there's our mid-Atlantic system. Let me just back this up. There you go. So this is the mid-Atlantic system for middle of next week. Look at that, Northern Virginia, West Virginia, and Western Maryland. This is where the bullseye is on the Euro. Even right around 16 to 18 inches around D.C., and look at this, 10 to 15 inches South Jersey. And then snowfall there, Harrisburg, upwards of 10 to 11. So this is going to be quite a bit in the way of snow. And then we just keep piling snow up here in northern New York, northern New England. Look at this, where we start to get into the 25 to 35-inch range. And flipping over to the GFS run, there's our, let's back that up because that's including some lake effect. So here it is. The GFS is going kind of lighter than the Euro, about 1 to 4 inches on average with our midweek system here. And then lake effect kicks in behind it off Lake Ontario. We have another system just north of Ohio, mostly Michigan will be getting that 7 to 9 inches. That is the weekend storm, so we're piling more snow. Obviously, the GFS is warmer here than the European model. Not by much, but by a couple degrees, and a couple degrees makes a huge difference. Now, here's our mid-Atlantic system, also positioning it further to the south. You notice it's missing most of Ohio, whereas the European actually had warning criteria all the way up into eastern and central Ohio here. But here it is, north central Virginia. This is right around 25 to 30 inches. Nation's capital right around 20. South Jersey, 13, 15 inches up the coastline. Even New York City right around 7. Eastern Pennsylvania, the Poconos Catskills up to the Hudson Valley. I-81 corridor. It's going to be close for you here. Could be warning criteria. And then we just add more snow as we head through the 20th here of February. And if we take a look at our total liquid equivalent precipitation amounts here, starting off on our GFS, yeah, it's going to be a lot of moisture here, especially out west and along the Gulf Coast and East Coast here, where a lot of this is going to fall in the form of rain down south, and some of this could be severe weather. So we're going to watch out for that. As we stretch out through middle to latter part of February here, we could be seeing, quite a bit in the way of moisture surge between 4 and 6 inches here. And let's take a look at our European run, also showing quite a bit in the way of moisture here. The axis of it is a little bit further north here, but you get the idea. Eastern Texas through North Georgia here. Wow, some of these areas could see 6 to 8 inches of liquid equivalent, most of this falling in the form of rain. And don't forget, before we continue with more weather coverage here, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. Let's continue. So let's look at our upper air pattern here on the European model. I know you're not going to be very impressed by this because it's like, okay, the MJO index is not very impressive, which we're going to look at momentarily, and so is the NAO index. But look at this. Inferno Firecracker Ridge continues across the east, but on the northern periphery, that's where we see these little impulses line up. And all you do is need marginally cold air to get some heavy snowstorm and ice storm action. Look at this. Through February 14th, it's a firecracker inferno ridge. But you can't deny that we're going to be flip-flopping back and forth with clash of the seasons, which is going to help squeeze out that moisture in the frozen variety. And going over to the GFS model, more of the same here. Those impulses just on the northern side of this inferno firecracker ridge through the middle of February. One thing the GFS starts to notice here is through the middle of the month, this ridge really starts to strengthen, and we get this troughiness out west here. Now, is that going to change? Yes, it is. Look at right around the 17th is where the GFS has this big, massive trough across the northeast. And when you have this ridging here, like across the south like this is where you can get that moisture feeding up into these cold troughs. And that's when you can get some big time snowstorms, even when you don't have the parameters lining up. See that right there? That is the 20th. That could be another system that could be more of the frozen precipitation variety. And here we go. NAO index remaining pretty positive here, although it will be going towards neutral come the latter part of February. And taking a look at the MJO index, we're kind of meandering over here amongst phase 5, 4, and kind of just going to shuffle around here for a little while, so not very exciting. And if we take a look at our Caribbean, Western Atlantic here, Central America, let's take a look at your tropics. How's everybody doing down here? So it's going to be a little bit drier through the rest of this week into the weekend. You see some scattered shower action. A lot of this is pinwheeling from the Lesser Antilles westward here. Now, as we get into the weekend, here it is. See some more heavier rain through Nicaragua, Honduras, and especially Belize here. A few scattered showers through Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, you do start to see increasing moisture from these easterly trade winds as we head through the 10th into the 11th. You get the idea here. It's going to be scattered shower action. Look at this feature down towards just way to the south and east of Trinidad and Tobago. There's some hefty tropical moisture here. It looks like for the most part it's going to stay south, but Trinidad and Tobago could get clipped by this. So watch out. This is some heavy duty tropical action. And look at this. Here's a low pressure system. We're going to watch this ride to the northwest. This is going to help things increase. Here's February 14th into the 15th. We do start to see evidence that we're going to see some shower action here into parts of Costa Rica, Panama. But you do start to see by the 17th into the 18th, things start to clear out a bit across parts of the Caribbean here. Things really kind of lining up here with the Gulf of Mexico. And thanks for tropical tidbits here for our European model analysis here of the Caribbean and Western Atlantic. Look at this. So as we stretch on through Thursday, February 6th into the 7th, you do start to see evidence that we're starting to see more shower activity here with a disturbance, and also here through the Lesser Antilles and Puerto Rico. And as we stretch on into the weekend here, showers are more numerous here around Nicaragua, Honduras, especially Belize. And we stretch back here towards the northeastern Caribbean islands, the Lesser Antilles. We have scattered showers about on these easterly trade winds. Now, one thing to note here, right around the 9th, look what starts to happen. If I can get this out of the way. Lots of moisture really starts to pinwheel in from the east. So there's definitely a trough, a disturbance kind of kicking in here. And that will occur mostly in the afternoon. We get those flare-ups of showers and thunderstorms. That continues through Central America as well. So February 12th here into the 13th, you can see these scattered showers. They do start to wane a little bit in action as we head through the middle of the month, but you still see some pretty formidable areas. One thing I want to note, Jamaica's really moistening up here. Look at Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. We're kind of drying it out here around the southern Lesser Antilles, down towards Trinidad, Tobago, these areas. But look at the Central American area, just really filling in with a lot of moisture. Now, one thing right around February 17th here, look at this big low hanging out across the Gulf. This is going to push a sharp cold front down through Belize, parts of western Guatemala, El Salvador, these areas. It's going to bring some moisture up across parts of Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and all the way over towards the northeast Caribbean islands here. So watch out. That front makes it a little bit to the east here, but it kind of lifts most of its energy here to the northeast. And you can see those easterly trade winds really win out here by February 19th. And here's those sea surface temperatures again. I wanted to show you them again, just like last video. Look at this warm water. We are nowhere near hurricane season yet. 3.5 months out, and look at how warm these sea surface temperature anomalies are running. Anywhere from 1.5 to as much as 2.5, with locally higher to 3 and plus in some areas. And let's take a look at our rainfall amounts here into the Caribbean as we stretch through next week. Yeah, things do start to moisten up here. You can see the eastern coastlines of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and up through Honduras. A little bit drier here on the north central coast of Honduras, still, averaging out to about 50 millimeters on average. Eastern coast of Belize, upwards of 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall. Jamaica here, you're going to start to moisten up next week. I think this is where you'll start to see 30 to 50 millimeters. Northeastern Jamaica, upwards of 50 to 70. And then look at the northern coastline here of Dominican Republic and northeast coast of Puerto Rico. This is where you could eclipse 150 millimeters, get you up towards that 4, 5, 6 inches. And bouncing over to the European model, look at this. So this takes us all the way through February 19th. You see that surge of tropical moisture. It's slowly tapering, though. It's still there, but we're not getting those tremendous amounts in excess of 200 millimeters. It's more like 90 to 120 millimeters on average. Jamaica is moistening up here on the European model as well. I think you're averaging out to about 50 millimeters. So those of you that said the soil is getting pretty dry in Jamaica, it's going to start moistening up here. Also the Cayman Islands and Dominican Republic. Haiti's a little bit drier here. Puerto Rico, yeah, you're going to see a solid soaking 1 to 2 inches with locally higher amounts. And getting over to the Eastern Caribbean, Western Atlantic. Yeah, as we stretch into next week, through the weekend, it's mostly dry, just some scattered showers on those northeasterly trade winds. And then look at this, as we stretch through the 19th, it's kind of evenly distributed here, 30 to 50 millimeters on average, a quarter to a half an inch, with locally higher 50 to 100 millimeters, especially these northeast facing shorelines here, where you could see up to 100 millimeters, right around 3.5 inches on average. All right, so for our Canadian weather outlook, things are going to start off really quiet initially. We do have a system that's moving through southern Ontario and Quebec, eventually a clipper type system as we stretch on into the day on Thursday and Friday. That pushes to the east. It does try to go a little coastal, but it's a little too far north to do that. It keeps Nova Scotia this time into the rainfall. Now, that pulls up into the Canadian Maritimes. We have a system from the United States that could affect southern Ontario by the 8th. So we're talking this weekend. If you want some good snowfall on a Saturday, that could be your recipe here from London, Toronto, up to Ottawa, and all points in between up to Montreal, and eventually New Brunswick, Nova Scotia by the 9th. Look at this. This could be a very formidable area of low pressure, and we could be piling up the snow. I'm going to bring out those snowfall amounts maps momentarily here, but look at that. That could be a very favorable snowfall of 20 to 40 centimeters on average here. We'll have to watch out because this is going to be a big area of low pressure as it moves towards Newfoundland. Look at that. St. John's getting really hit here. It's going to be close. And then we clear it out. Look at that. Little clipper moving through southern Quebec. British Columbia is pretty quiet with a few showers along the coastline here as that system pinwheels towards the south and east. But yeah, mostly we're talking about clipper action and then eventually some coastal action as well. Watch this come together as we stretch on into the 16th. That doesn't look very impressive on this run, but previous runs had that going coastal. Here's another coastal by the 20th into the Gulf of Maine. Nova Scotia, southern New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, watch out. This could be another big coastal storm, 968 millibars, moving up towards Newfoundland. And here's our snowpack here. It's building up across Canada, so it's going to be pushing southward across, parts of the southern part of North America here. Now, if we get into the European snowfall amounts, yeah, look at that. Nova Scotia, parts of southern New Brunswick. Oh, look at this. Southern Ontario and Quebec. This is where we could be approaching 30 to 50 centimeters of snowfall here. This is kind of crazy. And bouncing over to the GFS model, showing very similar amounts as we stretch through the middle of the month. Look at this. Not only is the West Coast getting in on the act here, but look at here. Southern Ontario, even southern Manitoba and Saskatchewan, all the way over to Nova Scotia. Some of these areas could be seeing 20 to 50 centimeters with locally higher amounts. And our high temperatures as we head throughout the week here, this is going to be the big story because I talked about this many times. It's going to be warming up into the 80s down south, and look at the northerns here. Zeros, teens, and 20s. Look at this. The plains is a baroclinic zone. This is a battleground, and as we stretch through Thursday, February 6th here, that battleground is only going to grow more intense here. You talk about aches and pains and such. This is what starts this kind of thing, these differences. And you get this massive explosive storm action here as we stretch on through Friday, February 7th. Look at this. This is just reinforcing shots of colder air. And look at this. Parts of Texas could be in the near 90-degree range, while in the northern plains, you're in the single digits. That cold air spills to the east on Friday behind that next system into Saturday. Look at this. Mid-60s in southern part of Ohio, but yet northern Ohio's in the upper 30s for Saturday. So this is the kind of baroclinicity I'm talking about here. And there's the single digits in the northern plains. As we stretch into the Sunday, February 9th here, you do start to see evidence that there's going to be a big surge try to at least push south and east here. You can see that eroding here into parts of Texas. With a frontal boundary. So as we stretch through our last day here, Monday, February 10th, here it is. We start to see the warm air retreating and the cold air is really starting to build up here. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, Binghamton, Grand Upper Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. As we start off with Wednesday, it's going to be partly sunny but very cold, mid-20s. And guess what? We get right on into Wednesday night and Thursday. That's where the snow, sleet, and freezing rain moves in. All for Thursday morning. That morning commute could be bad. Around an inch or two of snow and sleet and up to a tenth of an inch of freezing rain. So the winds are going to be howling as well, so watch out. It will make it up towards 40, though, so that'll start to melt off in the afternoon. Friday, sunny again, but dropping down into the 20s. And then look at that. Saturday, clouds roll in. Saturday night and Sunday, that's where we could, especially Saturday night, snow, sleet, and freezing rain once again. And before we continue with more weather coverage, check out these amazing, awesome maps from my affiliate here.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, SuperThanks. You can smash that SuperThanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone. Share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.